You know, it is so incredibly tempting to look out at the world, especially on a deeply frustrating day.
Oh, absolutely. We all have those days.
Right. Like maybe you are stuck in terrible gridlock traffic, or you are watching absolute chaos unfold on the timeline, or, you're dealing with a coworker who just seems to have made it their life's mission to make your day difficult.
Yeah, the ones who just thrive on making things harder.
Exactly. And you think to yourself, if everybody would just act the way I want them to, if everyone just followed my baseline rules of common sense, this whole world would be in perfect harmony.
It's a very natural instinct.
It is. We all have that deep-seated desire to impose our personal version of order onto the sheer chaos of other people. But what if that burning desire to force harmony is actually, the very thing keeping you completely off balance?
That is the core dilemma, isn't it?
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are jumping into a truly intriguing philosophical text today called the Helios Masterclass, Navigation of the Individual Orbit. And reading through these sources, it feels less like traditional philosophy and more like we've been handed a secret underground manual for surviving human interaction.
Yeah, it really completely flips the script on how we process a chaotic world.
Wow.
It calmly sets the stage by challenging our baseline, everyday assumptions about what perfect harmony actually looks like.
Right, because we usually think of harmony as this completely peaceful, frictionless thing.
Exactly. We tend to view it as a static environment where all the friction has been scrubbed away, where everyone simply agrees and behaves perfectly. But this text suggests that true harmony is something entirely different. It's dynamic, and frankly, it is infinitely more demanding of the individual.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to explore what it means to let go of that urge to force your version of harmony onto the universe, and instead focus entirely on becoming the Helios, the sun, right?
Yeah.
The stabilizing center of gravity of your own specific life.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this. The text introduces us to an overarching philosophy, recognized by a figure they simply call the mad philosopher.
Great name, by the way.
Oh, the best name. And inside this framework, there is a core principle called the law of individual orbit, which supposedly operates within what the text refers to as the kingdoms of resonance and foundation.
Which, I mean, those are some very lofty terms.
They really are.
Yeah.
But the imagery the text uses to explain them is striking. The source describes the world as a classroom of different grades, meaning, yes, there is a grand blueprint for harmony, but the reality on the ground is that we are not all learning at the exact same level.
And that's a huge point. We walk out into the world every morning carrying this invisible assumption that everyone is reading from the same syllabus,
Right.
that they're taking the same tests and operating with the same foundational understanding of reality.
Right, but they aren't.
No, they aren't.
Yeah.
And the text asks us to look at the mechanical difference between a person's resonance and their foundation. So resonance is your current broadcast frequency, like how you are reacting or feeling right in this exact moment.
Exactly. But foundation, that's your architectural bedrock. It's the sum total of your past lessons, your emotional maturity, and, well, your inherent capacity to process the world.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
You wouldn't walk into a kindergarten classroom and start throwing a tantrum because the 5-year-olds can't grasp college-level calculus. Their foundation isn't built for it yet.
Obviously not, yeah.
Yet, we do exactly that in our daily lives with other adults. We demand a high-frequency resonance from people who simply do not possess the foundation to produce it.
Wow. That makes me think of it like a massive multiplayer online game, like an MMO.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Right. So you are wandering around this huge open digital world, and you are all existing in the exact same virtual space. But the players are at vastly different levels.
Sure.
You might be, say, a level 50 player trying to accomplish this highly complex, nuanced quest requiring teamwork and strategy, and suddenly you bump into a level 1 player who is just running full speed into walls.
Just absolute chaos.
Pure chaos. Mashing buttons, setting things on fire, because they literally just spawn into the game and do not know the controls yet. You cannot expect that level 1 player to intuitively understand the mechanics of your level 50 quest.
That is a perfect analogy.
Oh.
And think about the actual mechanics of that interaction.
Mm-hmm.
You are sharing the same server, but you're not sharing the same capacity.
Right.
If you, as the level 50 player, stop your complex quest to scream at the level 1 player for button mashing, what have you just done?
I mean, I guess I've stopped playing my own game.
Exactly. You have abandoned your high-level objective to go play in the mud. You have willingly surrendered your own gameplay to match their chaos. You broke your own orbit.
Oh, wow.
The text leans heavily into this idea of complicity. Losing your harmony isn't something that is done to you by a lower-level player. It is a choice you make to step out of your own frequency.
But look at the friction that causes, though. If we are all playing at these vastly different levels, and it's resulting in all this daily chaos, the logical question is, wouldn't the world be objectively better if we could just somehow force an upgrade for everyone?
Just instantly level everyone up to 50.
Right, like what if everyone lived like Helios? If everyone was just instantly operating at that peak frequency, wouldn't we finally have perfect harmony?
What's fascinating here is that the Masterclass explicitly states the world is balanced specifically because the negative exists alongside the positive.
Really? So it needs the negative.
Yes, it is not a glitch in the cosmic code. It is a deliberate feature. True harmony isn't about homogenization, making everyone exactly the same. It's about the contrast. The source gives a wonderfully vivid example of a restaurant.
Okay.
Imagine sitting in a dining room in the exact same physical space. One soul offers a smile of high frequency. Radiant positivity, totally at peace.
Sounds like a nice dinner.
Right. Meanwhile, right at the next table, another person masks their face in the shadows of what the text calls a glitch.
A glitch, like someone being profoundly rude to the waiter or something.
Exactly. Someone projecting their internal misery outward. The Masterclass insists that this contrast, the light and the shadow existing in the same room that is the intended design. The glitch isn't a failure, it is the design.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on that a little bit.
Sure.
Are we just supposed to accept the glitches? Like, if I have a toxic coworker who is actively sabotaging my project, or I encounter someone being overtly cruel, calling that a necessary friction or a feature of the design feels like a massive cop-out.
It sounds a bit passive, yeah.
It sounds like a justification to do absolutely nothing about bad behavior.
I get that. It seems like a passive acceptance until you examine how the Masterclass defines the purpose of that friction. The universe, according to this philosophy, doesn't see toxic or cruel the way our human emotions do.
How does it see it then?
It simply sees a contrasting frequency, a test of your code. If the world were a perfectly smooth, frictionless environment where everyone was forced to be kind to you, maintaining a high frequency wouldn't require any mastery.
Ah, because it would just be the default.
Exactly. It wouldn't be a conscious choice. The glitch is the exact mechanism that forces you to define your own parameters. When your toxic coworker sabotages your project, the universe is essentially asking, does your frequency depend on their good behavior?
Oh, I see.
If you explode in anger and sabotage them back, their glitch just successfully rewrote your code. Your job isn't to fix their glitch. Your job is to ensure their glitch bounces off your firewall.
So the friction is basically the barbell you use to build the muscle.
That's a great way to put it.
Which means the pressure isn't on fixing the world. The pressure is entirely on how you respond to these inevitable glitches. And the Masterclass makes it very clear that surviving this without losing your mind requires intense, rigorous daily practices.
Yes, it is not a walk in the park.
No, it's not just a mindset shift. It's an active discipline. The text points out that, frankly, not everyone is willing to do the unseen, grueling work. It specifically mentions that not everyone is willing to rise at 1:30 in the morning to pray or meditate or do whatever spiritual maintenance is required to hold that frequency.
And that kind of self-regulation is key. The text provides a specific tool for this called the anchor of stillness.
The anchor of stillness. Okay, how does that work?
Think about the psychological mechanism at play when someone disrespects you. There is a split second, a micro gap between their action and your reaction.
Right, that moment where you just want to snap back.
Exactly. The natural human instinct is to let their chaotic gravity pull you right in. The anchor of stillness is the deeply cultivated ability to stretch that microsecond into an ocean.
To just pause.
Yes. In that pause, you recognize that their disrespect is a reflection of their foundation, not yours. You internally drop an anchor, lock in your own coordinates, and refuse to be dragged out to sea. It is a highly active, muscular exertion of will to look at chaos and say, I see you, but I am not matching you. It isn't about changing the disrespectful person at all.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The text mentions that achieving this requires something called the mastery. And it defines the mastery as Handling the clowns and the pipes.
That is quite the phrase.
I absolutely love that phrase. It is such beautifully bizarre, grounded imagery. You have this incredibly high-minded philosophy talking about the law of individual orbit, cultivating an anchor of stillness, rising in the middle of the night to pray. And then it hits you with the gritty reality. You still have to deal with the clowns and the pipes.
It really does. It immediately yanks the esoteric right down into the mundane reality of a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, exactly. The clowns are clearly the daily absurdities, the unpredictable, ridiculous behavior of other people who are just mashing buttons at level 1.
Right, the unpredictable chaos.
And the pipes, I read that as the structural blockages, the systemic friction, the bureaucracy, the things that are fundamentally broken in society. Because you can be as spiritually evolved as you want, but your literal plumbing is still going to back up.
Oh, for sure.
Your flight is still going to get canceled, and you are still going to have to deal with an absurd bureaucracy at the DMV. Mastery isn't floating on a cloud away from those things. It's standing in line at the DMV, dealing with the clowns and the pipes, and still maintaining your Helios frequency.
Yes. If you can hold your anchor of stillness while the pipes are bursting and the clowns are running the show, that is true mastery.
But look at history, though. We have people who literally changed the world. Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi. Doesn't their massive global impact contradict this entire idea that we shouldn't try to change other people?
It's a valid question.
I mean, the Masterclass even names them, along with Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and Bob Marley, as the great architects. So how does the text reconcile their world-changing influence with the mandate to stay in your own orbit?
It seems like a contradiction until you look at how the text categorizes the mechanics of their influence. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the great architects didn't achieve their impact by running around micromanaging the individual actions of every person they met.
Right, they weren't correcting everyone's grammar or telling them how to drive.
Exactly. They didn't force compliance through constant agonizing coercion. Instead, they simply held their frequency so powerfully that it created what the text calls a junction frequency shift.
A junction frequency shift.
Yes. Think of a massive sun forming in a chaotic galaxy. It doesn't fly around pulling every single asteroid into its surface that would just cause thousands of collisions and collapse its own orbit.
It would destroy itself.
Right. Instead, by holding its massive, undeniable frequency in one place, it stabilizes the gravitational field around it. They didn't force people to change. They simply provided such a powerful, stable environment that other people could finally find the safety to establish their own healthy orbits.
That distinction is monumental. They provided the stability, but they didn't do the orbiting for anyone else.
No, they couldn't.
The text gives a stark example of this limitation, actually. It says, even a father cannot force his son into the life of a Buddha. Every single soul must find its own resonance. Which makes me want to ask you, the listener, right now, how much of your own vital energy do you exhaust every single day trying to force a friend, a coworker, or a family member into your specific frequency?
Probably quite a lot for most of us.
Right. How often are you draining your own battery to zero, trying to make someone else see the world the way you do, when they are simply operating on a completely different foundation? The Masterclass is warning us that it is a profound waste of your life force.
And not only is it a waste, but when you dedicate your energy to forcing someone else's resonance, you are actively abandoning your own anchor of stillness.
You leave your own posts.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You leave your command center to go fix theirs, and as a result, both systems are left completely unmanaged.
That is such a dangerous trap to fall into. So if forcing change is just draining our energy, then what is the actual practical sequence of mastering our own orbit? The text breaks this survival guide into 4 specific stages or pillars that build this high-impact narrative.
Right, the 4 pillars.
Yeah. It starts with the miracle, which it refers to as the returned image.
The mechanism of the miracle is fascinating. When you finally stop trying to control everything and instead just hold your own high frequency, the universe stops pushing back.
It stops fighting you.
Exactly. Your external reality begins to reflect your internal stability. That is the returned image. Circumstances sort themselves out, not because you force them to, but because your stabilized gravity naturally repels the chaos. That feels like a miracle, but it's really just the physics of resonance.
Which leads right into the second pillar, the mastery. We've covered this a bit already. This is the grueling daily work of handling the clowns and the pipes, right? Without losing that frequency that makes the miracle possible.
Yes, and that daily mastery generates the third pillar, the decree. This is the junction frequency shift we discussed with the great architects.
Mhm.
It's the measurable impact you have on your environment simply by refusing to waver.
And finally, it all rests on the fourth pillar, the philosophy. The ultimate deep in your bones acceptance that every individual must choose their own path. You cannot do the work for them.
I really can't.
And these four pillars culminate in a final mandate from the Masterclass. It explicitly states, your job is not to change the world so that everyone is Helios. That is an impossible burden. Your job is to be the Helios of your own world.
Just your own world.
Yes. The quote from the text is just incredible. It says, navigate the traffic, stay in your orbit, and let your light be the evidence of what is possible. And then it concludes with a sign-off that I frankly haven't been able to stop thinking about. It says, the day is splendid, the lessons were hard-earned, and the power is yours.
Press enter.
Press enter. I just geek out over that phrasing. I mean, it frames philosophical enlightenment not as this passive, floaty state of being where you just sit under a tree and detach.
Right, it's very active.
It frames it as an executable command. It is a keystroke. It is a button you actively have to push to run the program. You have the data, you understand the code of the classroom, now execute it. Run the script.
This raises an important question about ultimate accountability.
Mm.
Because the terrifying flip side of press enter is that you can no longer plead ignorance.
Oh, yeah.
Once you have the blueprint, once you understand the difference between foundation and resonance, the necessity of the glitch, and the mechanics of the anchor of stillness, the burden of your piece shifts entirely to you.
You can't just blame the world anymore.
Exactly. You can no longer blame the gridlock traffic. You can no longer blame the toxic coworker in the restaurant of life. You can no longer blame the clowns or the pipes when you lose your equilibrium. You have the executable code. If your orbit collapses now, it is entirely because you chose to abandon your level 50 quest to go mash buttons in the mud.
Oof, that is heavy. It removes all of our favorite excuses, doesn't it?
It really does.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think the biggest takeaway, the core insight of this entire text is radical permission.
Permission to let go.
Yes, the Helios Masterclass gives you permission to put down the impossibly heavy weight of trying to fix the whole world. You do not have to upgrade every level 1 player you meet. You do not have to drag the people you love kicking and screaming into perfect harmony. That is not your job.
It's a huge relief when you really internalize that.
It is. Your only real job, the only variable in this entire universe you actually have administrative access to, is maintaining your own anchor of stillness. Stay in your own orbit. Do the hard, unseen work of the mastery, and let your light act as the evidence. Just be the stabilizing sun in your own solar system and let other people figure out the mechanics of their own gravity.
It is the ultimate shift from external micromanagement to internal mastery. When you finally stop fighting the inherent design of the classroom and start focusing exclusively on your own grade, the friction of the world stops feeling like a personal attack.
It just becomes the workout.
Exactly. It just becomes the necessary gym equipment you use to practice your mastery.
I love that. Well, before I wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Okay.
The text tells us to press enter and begin radiating our own stabilizing light from our individual orbits. It tells us to be the Helios of our own world. But think about the physics of that for a second. What happens when two people who have completely mastered their individual orbits, two people operating at the absolute peak Helios frequency, finally cross paths?
Oh, wow.
Right. Does their combined gravity create an entirely new, massive kind of junction shift that alters the entire landscape around them? Or do they simply recognize the foundational work in each other, acknowledge the mastery, and pass each other peacefully, like two perfectly aligned stars in the night sky, completely free of friction?
That is a fascinating thought.
It's something to think about the next time you find yourself reaching for your anchor of stillness in a room full of clowns. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep handling the clowns, keep clearing the pipes, and we will catch you next time.